What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in CoD World War II. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the STEN. And first up, let's kick it off with some of the in-real-life stats. The STEN was developed in 1940 in the United Kingdom, and it fires a 9mm Luger at approximately 500 to 600 rounds per minute. Within CoD World War II, this gun is actually extremely similar to the MP40. It's very clear that they used the MP40 as the baseline when they were designing the STEN for this game. And therefore, throughout this episode, you will often hear me comparing it to and referring back to the MP40. Our damage profile, for instance, is identical to the MP40 at 35, 32, 23, 19, which means it's always going to be a 3, 4, 5, or 6 shot kill. Our rate of fire is slightly slower than the MP40 though. This is one of the big differences between the STEN and the MP40. Even though it's not a massive change, it is noticeably slower at 638 rounds per minute. With rapid fire, we bump that up to 679 rounds per minute, and as for our statistical minimum time to kill, because our rate of fire is slightly slower, our time to kill does take a bit longer than the MP40 at all of the ranges. Within that very short 3-shot kill range, which is exactly the same as the MP40, we'll look at it in a little bit here, our time to kill here is 188 milliseconds, which is very, very fast for the SMG category, and then from there, it ranges all the way up to 470 milliseconds when you get out to the 6-shot kill range, which is quite slow, and at most ranges, aside from that short 3-shot kill potential, it is outclassed by a lot of the other SMGs in the game. As for headshots, just like with all the SMGs in the game, we get a 1.1 headshot multiplier, which means that one single shot to the head is never going to change the number of bullets it takes to kill, and therefore generally don't worry about headshots. If you hit every single bullet to the head at some ranges, it will impact the number of shots it takes to kill, but this simply isn't practical due to the fact that it's an SMG, we have recoil, we have idle sway, and therefore we're just not going to hit every single bullet in the head. As for our ranges, it's nearly identical to the MP40 in this area as well. It's got the same very short 3-shot kill potential at only 3 meters, which is very, very short. You have to be really, really close to your target to get that 3-shot kill potential. Our 4-shot kill range does extend beyond the MP40's 4-shot kill range. This is one of the upsides of this gun over the MP40, and one of the things that kind of compensates for that slightly slower rate of fire. Our 4-shot kill range extends out to 20 meters. Our 5-shot kill range is exactly the same as the MP40 at 30 meters, and then beyond 30 meters, it's always going to take 6 shots to kill. With a suppressor, all of our ranges are reduced by 30%, and with advanced rifling, our 3-shot kill potential remains unchanged. It's still just going to be 3 meters, but our 4 and our 5-shot kill ranges are increased by 25%. As for hardcore, we do have a pretty respectable 1-shot kill potential for SMGs at least at 20 meters. Moving on to Hipfire, it's standard for the SMG category, and it's basically the same as all the SMGs aside from the WW2 and the Thompson. Moving on to idle sway, no surprises here, we've got quite a bit of idle sway. It is an SMG after all, and all of the SMGs in this game do have a decent amount of idle sway on them. And for recoil, I would say it's slightly more predictable than the MP40, just slightly better. It does kick a little bit side to side, and therefore sometimes it does throw you completely off your target. And it has its moments where it's hard to control, but having said that, there's also been several times where I've picked people off at really far ranges with no issues whatsoever. Getting into magazine capacity, we've got a pretty standard magazine for an SMG at 32 rounds with 96 in reserve, and with extended mags that bumps up to 48 rounds with 144 in reserve. Our reload add time, which is the amount of time it takes to reload without the unnecessary animation at the end, it's literally exactly the same as the MP40 at 1.27 seconds. This is quite good for SMGs. Moving on to handling and mobility stats, our aim down sight time is the same as the MP40, but it's also the same as a lot of the rifles in the game. It definitely doesn't excel in this area. It's a lot slower than some of the other SMGs in the game at 250 milliseconds. It's the same story with our sprint out time. This is also 250 milliseconds, which is a bit slower than some of the other SMGs. Our movement speed, on the other hand, is standard for SMGs at 100%, and same thing goes with our aim down sight strafe speed. This is 72%, which is the same as all of the other SMGs aside from the grease gun. So overall, my thoughts on the STEN, it's pretty much a slightly worse version of the MP40 in my opinion. Even though it gains that little bit of a 4-shot kill range over the MP40, I don't feel that really makes up for the slower fire rate compared to the MP40, and therefore in most situations I would rather just be using an MP40. If you guys don't have the STEN yet, if you haven't worked your way up to it with the bribes or with opening it in a winter supply drop, or by whatever means that you end up getting it, you're not really missing out on a whole lot. I do like the iron sights, I do enjoy using the gun, and you can absolutely excel with this gun. Just know it's not really a standout SMG in any way. Now getting into a couple example classes I have for you guys, the first one is with the Airborne division here, and with this one I'm using Quick Draw as well as Grip. And I don't normally use Grip on my guns, you guys probably know that if you watch this series, but for whatever reason, with the STEN, I feel like Grip just works, and I really enjoy using this gun with a Grip. For our basic training we have Scoped, and our secondary is a machine pistol as always with extended mags, as well as a sticky grenade for our lethal. With this class, I find sometimes I'm using a suppressor, sometimes I'm not. The STEN isn't a bad gun to be using a suppressor on by any means in my opinion, and overall it's just a pretty standard rushing class. Moving on to the second class here, this is also with the Airborne division. I really like using Airborne with this gun because it's all about just getting around the map quickly and getting yourself into a good position. With this one, it's more of an objective-oriented class because we are using Hunker as our basic training skill. Also, I wanted to point out we're using Quick Draw as well as Rapid Fire. When you put Rapid Fire on this gun, it takes it pretty much exactly on the same level as the MP40 as far as fire rate goes, and therefore I feel like it makes it a much more viable weapon when you're just getting into those close quarter situations, which is often what you're going to be finding when you're on objectives. Once again, we have the exact same lethal as well as secondary setup here. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's gun guide. I'd like to know in the comment section below, if you guys have the STEN, what do you think about it so far? Do you think it's a good gun? Do you think it's a bad gun? Were you surprised that it's almost identical to the MP40? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. In addition to that, I'd like to know which of the two guns you'd like me to cover next, either the GPMG or the Gewehr 43. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.